gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
Hey, what is happening, YouTube? It is Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Jeff, and tonight I'm going to try to struggle along. I've been to a bunch of Opeth shows the last couple days. My voice is shot, but we're going to get through it. I am joined today by Mr. Chris Morrison of the Indianapolis, correct?
Yep.
Indianapolis, Indiana, Melodic Death, Doom, Death. We'll figure that out. We'll talk about it here and figure out exactly where you belong. Band Mother of Graves. Welcome, Chris. Good to see you, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. So we kind of went through the little bit of history before we went live here, but we were supposed to do this, I'm pretty sure, about 5 weeks ago, and I got really sick. Had to kind of bail out on a whole bunch of interviews. And but I'm really happy you're here, man. And as I mentioned, your name kind of came across my radar rather recently. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to front you here and go, oh, yeah, I've known about you guys since you began. It's not one of those deals. I kind of came into you through Dan Swano and a buddy of mine, Rick, Dreadful Rick, if you're out there watching, dude. I imagine he'll probably pop in. He said he mentioned you guys to me, but, you know, like I said, we share so many ideas, and dude, did you check this out? Did you check that out? And since I'm tied in with a couple PR agencies, I tend to get stuff early, and I'm the dude that's always going, yo, you got to check this out. You got to check this out. And I did. I've had this promo probably for going on 2 months, somewhere in that range. And it kind of was buried in the emails. And I kept going, I got to check them out. Sometimes I get the promos and I look at them and I read the bio and I'm like, yeah, it's just not gonna be my thing. Brutal death metal, slam, anything hardcore. It's just not for me. I'm a death metal guy, old school death metal, doom, death doom, funeral doom, prog metal. You know, that's my thing. But I saw this one, I'm like, I gotta get to that. And then it just got kind of buried. Big mistake. Big mistake. I'm gonna say that right up front. This fucking album is a banger, and I already had a lot of my top 24 for 24 picked out, but you guys you goofed it all up. So thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it.
Hey, that's good to hear, man. I appreciate that.
But yeah, so you guys are from Indianapolis, Indiana. You were here primarily to talk about your just released album. Is it Periapt? Is that the word?
Yeah, you got it. Good job.
There you go. Periapt of Absence. I is a college graduate, so there you go. I want to bring this up. I do not own it yet, but I will be absolutely buying this. And we're going to bring up the artwork here for those people that haven't seen it yet. This album did come out on Profound Lore this past Friday, right?
Yep, October 18th, yeah.
And yeah, let me just pull this up a minute here real quick. There we go.
Yeah,
Can you see that?
Yep.
All right. Cool artwork. Digging that artwork.
Thanks. Yeah, that's Kalen Stokerman's, man. He did a killer job on that. Some people have reached out and be like, "Oh, where'd you get that old painting from?" It's not an old painting. We commissioned this through an awesome artist, and yeah, this is all Kalen and Brandon's ideas. So.
Did he do the Fires in the Distance album too?
I believe he did. Yeah,
I thought so. It's got that same kind of vibe, and I just caught them at the beginning of the month, opening for Amorphous and Dark Tranquility, which was
nice. Wearing my Amorphous shirt right now.
Yes,
yeah. Fires in the Distance. They're amazing. They're a great band.
Yeah, unfortunately I got down there kind of late, and there was a big festival going on. Parking was crazy, so I had to walk quite a long distance. By the time I got there, I'm walking in, they were finishing up their last song. I try not to do that because you just never quite know. I mean, I mentioned Opeth, and Tribulation opened for them, and I am a massive Tribulation fan.
yeah.
And I'm like, I am not missing those guys. I don't care if I got to get there at like 3 p.m. to stand first in line. You just don't know what you might miss, you know. But sometimes shit happens, and it just is what it is. But yeah, it's a beautiful, cool painting, and like you said, it's got that kind of Renaissance-y sort of vibe to it, you know, like old school kind of like an 18th or a 15th, 16th century medieval sort of vibe to it, which is cool.
Yeah, that's what we're going for with that. We just wanted we didn't want to take it from an old museum or some shit. We wanted some cool artist to do it, and he nailed it, man.
Yeah, he did. And it's very fitting for the music. It really works with the music, man. I mean, you know, I love bands that think about the whole total package, from sequencing to, you know, obviously production is important, but the whole presentation of it, particularly now that vinyl's back. I mean, I'm old enough to know that vinyl was all we had, and the 8-track tape, for God's sake. Forget that. Don't bring back the 8-track tape, please. Don't do that.
These are terrible, man. Yeah, I remember those.
And I don't even like the fact that the cassettes are back. They're garbage too to me. But because that's all I had in my teenage years was that. That was how we listened to our music mobily. But the fact that the album is back it's great, because it allows you to really get that overall feel of something. You're not looking at a little picture in a CD booklet or
dude, totally. The albums are fantastic for like active listening, man. You pull out the big ass insert with your lyrics right there. You can, you know, check out the artwork and the pictures, read the credits while you're listening to it, and the thanks list and all that. And you're not like trying to squint and read something in a CD booklet.
Well, how old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I am 47 years old.
Okay, you're not that you're still far behind me, but not that far. I'm 58. So
gotcha.
You know, that was my whole thing in the 70s and the 80s was you missed that. But you're right about the active listening part, because it makes you engage with it. Whereas with a CD, you can kind of pop it in and be bopping around the house or doing whatever you're doing. If you're driving, you're distracted. With an album, you got to focus. Now, I will say, I'm a lazy old man, so getting up and flipping it is a pain in the ass.
Just sit closer to it or whatever, you know.
There you go. It's the price you got to pay, right? So
right.
So tell me a little bit. First of all, let's get into a little bit of history. You guys this is your sophomore album here.
Yeah.
Your first album came out in, what was that, 2022, where the Shadows Adorn, and that followed the EP from 2021, In Somber Dreams. I'll be picking those up. I'm very sure of that.
Awesome.
Tell me a little bit about the history of the band, how it came together, what maybe some of you guys were doing prior to this. And
Sure.
Indianapolis, not exactly the hotbed of death doom.
No, not at all. God, no. I don't know if there's any in there. I mean, we've had some great doom bands come out of Indianapolis, like the Gates of Slumber and Apostle of Solitude. Those are my buds, and they're from here. But yeah, you know, I started out playing way, you know, how far back you want to go, but way back in the day, you know, I was playing like in a hardcore band, kind of a punk rock hardcore band when I was a kid, and into my, you know, 20s or whatever. But also when I was a kid, I was in a band called Harakiri along with Ben, who's our guitarist. We were one of the early Willow Tip Records like signings. We were kind of a technical death metal band. And, you know, we did that from like 1997 to like, we kind of fizzled out around 2004, kind of quit doing that. So, but that was my introduction to Ben, and he's been one of my best friends ever since then, you know, so I was happy to get him on board for Mother of Graves later down the road. So, you know, I don't know. We all played in different bands, like, you know, Brandon's been in, you look, a million bands, and I've been in a band with Don before, our drummer, and Corey and Don and Brandon played in a band called Summon the Destroyer before they joined up with us, another like heavy ass death metal band. They were awesome. But yeah, as far as Mother of Graves goes, man, like I was in this band with Don, our drummer, and our one of our great friends, Jeremy, and we it was a band called Bullet Wolf, just kind of a doomish kind of rock band or whatever. But then Jeremy, he tragically passed away one day, like after he played an awesome show. Yeah, man, it was a super bummer, dude. He was a super loved guy around here, one of my best friends. And, that put me in a huge funk. Yeah, thank you. Put me in a huge funk. Didn't really play music for a while because that was my band at the time. And I just, but then so I was grieving, of course. And I picked up the guitar again and started playing. After my family would go to bed at night, I would just kind of sit there just on the floor playing my acoustic guitar. And what I started playing, I was listening to a lot of the old Death Doom at that time, a lot of like Catatonia, early Tiamat,
Paradise Lost,
My Dying Bride, all that stuff.
Sure, Anathema, sure.
Yeah, because like I'd always liked that stuff, but after the loss of one of my best friends, which I hadn't really, I'd have some family members pass away before, but that was somebody really close to me. So,
well, and you're young, man. That's not something you expect to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. So that really, that Death Doom genre, just like, even though I had liked it before, it really spoke to me right then. So so I started playing guitar, and I had never played any music like that before. Some of the stuff in the hardcore punk band I played before, I kind of had some, emotional tinge to it, but what I was playing turned out to be, some sad fucking guitar parts, man. I don't know. And so I was just writing these songs with actually no goal in mind. I'm just writing these songs, and I wanted to finish them. So I was like, hey, Ben, you got a studio in your house. Can you like record these with me and help me finish these like little ideas I have? I just want to document this shit. And then we started doing that, and we we're like, man, it's not too bad. We should, do something with these. So yeah. So he hopped in, and we, we recorded a single with our buddy on vocals who, wasn't interested in being in a band, but he helped out on our first song, which was called Afraid.
Was that Afraid? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He was actually the vocalist in the Harakiri band that I mentioned earlier. But he didn't.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah,
it's not Harry Carey from the Sky, though. That's a different band, right?
That's a different band, yeah.
Okay,
they came around after us, and I was like, man, it's not the same name, but it's a little similar.
Pretty close, yeah. Pretty close. But then again, there's 9 million incantation bands of some form or other, so.
Exactly. But yeah, anyway, so like we recorded these songs. I called up Brandon, and he was totally down. Like this kind of style of music's right up his alley. And so he came in, and we demoed out some stuff, and we were like, okay, shit, this is pretty cool. Then all of a sudden we get a call from this dude named Sean. I'm like, okay. And he's not a call, I guess he emailed me or whatever. So he moved to Indianapolis from New York City. He was a writer for Decibel magazine. Starting up a record label. And he had gotten our name from Corey from Apostle of Solitude, supposedly, who kind of, because he was looking for like local bands or regional bands to kind of work with. And so, he listened to like our track that we had up, and heard some other stuff that we had, and we ended up being his first signing on Wise Blood Records. He formed that
cool
back then. So like our In Summer Dreams EP was the first signing. He also got us hooked up with Albert from Decibel, was helping curate Metal Massacre compilation with Metal Blade. And so somehow, without us ever having like played a show or anything, like we got one of our first songs like placed on that Metal Blade Metal Massacre compilation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was kind of a Kickstarter to Sean's record label, so like our song was on there. He came out, so Albert really did us a solid there. That was awesome. So yeah, we had that, and then we had no expectations when we started doing this. We didn't think we were going to be a real band. We had no idea. We were just writing some songs, man. So. But at that point, like we brought in Don, and that TJ was our bass player at that point, who also played in the band with Don and I. And then he didn't want to be in a band anymore, so we brought Corey on before the Where the Shadows Adorn album came out. So, and yeah, we stuck with Wise Blood Records for that, man. And that album got way more attention than I ever thought it would. It got us, out there into the metal community really well. Got us some cool opportunities. I'm forever grateful for those. And then. Yeah, that's basically it. Here we are with the new album.
Did Profound Lore come looking for you, or did you go to them, or how'd that happen then?
Yeah, so shortly after Where the Shadows Adorn was released, I don't know, I don't remember how, it was pretty soon after it came out, like after some of the reviews came out, maybe after like it ended up in like the Decibel magazine, like top 40 list or whatever.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he sent us a message through our Bandcamp account. Just asking like kind of what we were up to, and at that point the album had just really kind of came out, so like we weren't looking to even think about the next album yet. So like I was like, hey man, I love your record label. Your record label's amazing. We don't know what we're gonna do yet, but I'm gonna get back with you. So yeah, he did reach out to us, which was amazing because man, that label is fantastic. I mean, you look at the roster, the albums they put out, it's fantastic.
It is. Yeah, a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Albert, and Albert, you know, man, I know Albert not well, but I know him to, you know, talk to him. I've actually had dinner with him one time a few years back. Man, I mean, that guy is just flying the metal flag. Like he is, you know, him and Slagle, those two dudes, like, you know, there's you think they're on the Mount Rushmore of metal legends as far as keeping things rolling and doing everything they can to
Totally.
And speaking of that, you guys played at Denver Decibel, which I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Last year, correct?
Yeah.
Last year.
We owe a lot to Albert because like for stuff like that, you know, putting us like in the magazine, and then he invited us out to the Denver Decibel, you know, Metal and Beer Fest, and it was fucking amazing. It was a great show. I'm so grateful for that opportunity, man. Like it was huge for us, you know. It got us out there like more on the national stage, you know, than just, you know, regional gigs or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
We're not really a massive touring band, you know. We'll go out here and there, but like our whole focus is trying to play those kind of things, like festivals. Sure. Most bang for our buck, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome. Albert's been great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good friends with John Halm and Don Anderson, all the Agalock dudes. So it's kind of weird. I'm going out there this time.
Nice.
Because I got buds in Crip Sermon and Daiva and Chris Byford and Wilkinson from Autopsy. I mean, I know these. Are we like tight buds? No, but we're friends. They know me. They've done my show, and I'm like, man, I gotta travel. I can't do Vakken. I can't do an overseas thing. Not with some of my health challenges. I just can't. My age, everything. It's just not gonna work for me. But I'm like, I have a good buddy in Colorado Springs. He's like, dude, he came in for MDF, and we did MDF back in May. And I got through that better than I thought I would. And I'm like, bro, I might be thinking about Denver and coming out and visiting for a couple of days. Like, do it. You got to come out.
Man, that festival is really, really well put together. Like it's 2 days. It's jam packed full. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, I always do the Philly one. I was at the Philly one.
Okay, cool. So you know.
Yeah, I did the second day this time with Deicide. I'd never seen Deicide, so I was like, I gotta see Deicide, and you know that whole day was just fucking killer, man. So this is gonna be great because I love Yob, I love Autopsy, a lot of great bands on there that are gonna be, you know, it's gonna be. My liver might not like me a little bit after that, but I gotta do what you gotta do. Well, listen, so the second album, when did it start to take shape and form in terms of, I mean, do you do the primary amount of writing? Is Ben involved? Is everybody involved? How's that work out?
You know, everybody's involved. I would say, you know, primarily the songs basically start with either me, Ben, or Brandon. At this point, you know, because like honestly, like the other guys have like tons of, you know, writing on the album, but like we're the ones who kind of start the songs, I guess, you know, like we'll come up with the riffs and the way we're not a band that gets together and, you know, writes together in a room. Like when we get together to like jam or like whatever, we're rehearsing for a show.
We're rehearsing to get things.
Yeah. We don't have enough time to like get together and, you know, jam and write together all that much. But luckily Ben lives really close to me, just like 5 minutes down the road. So
cool.
I go over to his house all the time in his studio, and, you know, Brandon will email us his ideas. You know, he plays guitar as well. He plays drums. He plays everything. Okay. So, you know, we basically take these recorded ideas. You know, I've got like 1,000 things on my phone, you know, like
sure, so do I. Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, so like we'll just pick out some stuff that sounds cool and, you know, start working on it together. Sometimes, you know, one of us will bring like a full song into it, but usually it's just like a part or two that kind of go together, and then we'll all work together to get it knocked out. And then, you know, Corey always comes in and adds like, you know, bass flair. You know, sometimes Ben and I will go through it and we'll program some drums and just put a trash bass line in there just to have something. Right.
A guide just to
And then just tell those guys, you know, we're gonna take these out. You do whatever you want. So
right.
Don often changes up like the whole feel of a song with the way he writes his drums and everything. So, but yeah, you know, it usually just starts with a guitar riff or maybe like a piano piece or something like that. But for the songs for this one, man, they started coming into fruition, right around, how long it takes a long time for an album to get released. Like, so we were done with like Where the Shadows Adorn, turned it into the label, and then you just like sit on your ass for months and months and months until it actually comes out. So
yeah.
So yeah,
there he is. There's Rick. I knew he'd be dropping it. So Rick
Rick.
is to blame for all this in a large way. So he's saying I'm mother's fan since the EP. You guys rule. There you go.
Awesome. Thanks, dude. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. So yeah, we've had some of these songs have been done since Where the Shadows Adorn came out. Not done, but like
in some form.
In some form, yes. But like for example, the first song on the album is called Gallows.
Mm-hmm.
Ben wrote the majority of that. So like we had a skeleton of that, like probably done like right when the album dropped like 2 years ago. But it morphed over the year and a half before we actually, finished tracking on it. It changed a million ways, but
Yeah, you know how that goes. I mean, as a guitarist, I don't know if you're like me at all, but I'm always noodling primarily on the acoustic, man. I mean, that's where I do the lion's share. I got a Taylor, and I love playing that thing more than anything else. So it's like that's my main thing, and I know if it sounds badass on my acoustic, it's gonna sound way better when I throw it on. All these things and throw a bunch of effects on and all that kind of stuff. So I assume that I think I'd be shocked if a lot of guitarists don't do that exact same. And then, like you said, this is great because you just you play that riff in there, and then you listen back to it, and you're like, that's not nearly as good as I thought it was when I was listening to it.
Oh yeah,
or fuck, that thing's killer. You know what I mean?
My voice memos is like is chock full, and like I'll go through and listen to it, and I'll delete like the shitty takes and everything, and then if I find one that I really like that's kind of decent, I will I'll label it like, oh, come back to this one in a month and see if you can do some shit with it.
Right. Yeah. Do you allow Brandon to do the song titles, or do you usually give something, do you have some working titles often that you hand him and say, hey, this is
man, we make
White Snake 87 cocaine bust or something like that, or
yeah, we make up like some really fucking stupid like holder song titles just to like so we know which like idea is what but like
I'm sure
won't never have one of them actually made it into like an actual like song title.
Yeah.
Brandon is totally in charge of all song titles, album titles, and lyrics. He
does the lyrics then. It's all him.
He is a lyricist. He's a poet, man. He's a writer. So we just leave that with him.
Yeah, I noticed that. He's also got a lot of credits in Metallica, man. He's been in a fair few bands.
Yeah.
All you guys are local, or do guys live 2 hours away, or is any of that kind of stuff? Or
man, we're all local. I mean, Ben and I live in, some of us live in a suburb, like a little like 20 minutes away from Indianapolis. But yeah, it's all.
I see that Brandon was in Asheron with Vincent.
Yeah. Like I think he was just like a touring drummer. He was with them for a little while. I don't know if he was on any albums, or he might have been. I don't really know.
Right.
I know he went to Mexico with them and did some touring with them.
Jason says, I just got into Mother of Graves recently. There you go, man.
Hey, cool. Jason, thank you, man.
So did I, and I'm talking to the poor guy. He's like,
Wade.
Thanks a lot.
What's up, Wade?
You know Wade?
Yeah, I know Wade. Wade's awesome.
Wade is killer, man. Yeah, good dude. We always get. I think Wade's out your way, kind of. Sort
yeah,
of.
yeah. He's like
Illinois,
a couple hours away in northern Indiana, I believe, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm kind of flying a little bit by the seat of my pants here tonight. I have some ideas here. I want to read something, then I want to ask you a question. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is me after listening to the album 3 times already. And I'm going to do some track by track stuff too, highlight some tracks. But here's what I'm thinking, and I have a question once I read all this because there's a point to all this. Of course, I hear bits of early Catatonia and My Dying Bride, even bits of early Anathema in the vocals, circa serenades, especially on the title track, but also some pretty current bands. Well, not so current actually, but they're last 20 years. Like Swallow the Sun. I really hear a lot of Swallow the Sun. Okay, I'm just going to say that straight up. I even hear a little Tribulation in there, right? And then the more funeral doomy sort of evoking stuff, like that kind of, not quite that slow and glacial, but when you do get into the more slower bits, you hear that. And of course, I hear ample amounts of Paradise Lost. Now, my question to you is, does that piss you off to hear that when I say that? And the reason I ask that is, we all know as writers and as musicians, we want to be judged on the merit of our material, not as, oh, you sound just like, or oh, that song sounds just like this band or that album or whatever. Okay. But let's be honest, Chris, you and I both know as guitar players, we rip shit off all the time. I wrote this killer acoustic piece. And I kept trying to find this one chord, right?
Mm-hmm.
Found this chord. I'm like, oh my God, I found the chord. And I'm working on this thing, working on it with my daughter. And this is a couple months ago. I had this killer couple of pieces, but it didn't have the linkage. I needed that one linkage chord. And I finally found it. Just trying to come up with weird. I like to do stretchy, weird things and figure out. But okay, so Diary of a Madman comes on. I'm like, oh my God, I stole that chord from Randy Rhoads, and I didn't even know how to play the song. But the minute I heard that do 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 that intro chord where he does the little descending piece, I'm like, motherfucker, I stole that from. So it was in here. I figured it out and transcribed it on the guitar. It wasn't my chord. Randy Rhoads already wrote it 30 years ago. So I guess my point to you is that, you know, when you hear me naming off all those legends, if it's me, I'm going to go, yeah, fuck yeah, man. Hell yeah, that's cool. But some people get really uptight about or upset about that. Is that, I assume that's not you.
No, man. Okay, so I'm very self-aware. I know what our influences are. And here's the thing, like, I never listened to Swallow the Sun or the newer bands that you mentioned, Tribulation or like Evoking. I never listened to them until people told me, like, you guys kind of sound like them. I think those bands like obviously have the same influences that we do, the older bands, and we just happen to like come into the same place. You know, I've listened to Swallow the Sun since. My buddy John from Chicago, he was like, you know, listen to this album, you know, like the Moonflowers or whatever. And I was like, oh,
Ghost of Loss.
Okay,
First one, Ghost of Loss, big time.
I was like, okay, I never heard this band before, but I can see why you would say that we kind of sound like them. But, you know, I mean, the Catatonia stuff, you know, like the early Tiamat, the Paradise, it's obvious. I mean, those are.
Brave Murder Day is.
Yeah, dude, I was worshiping Brave Murder Day, especially Sound of Decay EP. When my friend died, like that was what I was listening to just on repeat for months, man. Like, you know, and so that's kind of that's what came out at this point. So there's no denying that. You know, did I try to rip them off exactly? Maybe here and there, you know.
There's little bits. I mean, there is. I have it in when we get to the track by track. I'll point out the one thing. Listen, this isn't a review per se. It's just a bouncing back and forth with you about maybe some of the tracks, and there might be that little bit where I go, oh, right there, that's the BMD part. There.
I will happily admit when I was like, yeah, we need a Brave Murder Day section right here. We need this to be a, you know, kind of a, you know, Edge of Sanity style situation, something like that.
Just own it, man. I mean, like I said, I saw Michael over the weekend twice. Michael will be up there. This is the part I ripped off from Gong. Do you guys know Gong? I stole this from Gong. Or he'll do some weird ass, you know, or this is the part I stole from Morbid Angel or whatever. And he's not lying when he says that. He's being totally honest. He's like, this is how it worked out. And I think Michael might be the most genius fucking songwriter of the death metal genre for me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't give a shit when anybody else thinks that they're soft because they went prog. Dude, try to play some of that shit and come back to me then, right? You know?
Exactly.
So
no, we've got those influences. I was just saying, we've got those influences. Everybody has their influences. We try to put our own spin on it. I think more so on this album, we kind of did more so than the last album, which was probably, you know, more just our influences speaking. But on this one, we, you know, tried to be ourselves a little bit more. And I think there's parts of it that, you know, kind of harken back to the influences, and some of it is our take on the whole genre. So.
You know what I really came away from on this album? Like I said, after 3 straight listens, first of all, you didn't make it 90 minutes long. Okay, that's good. I just I just got, and nobody knows about this, so I'm not even sure if I should say anything, but I will. I just got it's only a day early. I got the promo for the Great Old Ones. You know the Great Old Ones, French
No,
kind of cosmic Cthulhu band, really fucking wickedly cool. A little bit of, they're kind of a blackened death prog band. They're so freaking cool, and they haven't done anything for 5 or 6 years. Well, my buddy at Seasons of Mist hooked me up because he knows I'm a massive fan. He's like, don't talk about. He probably said don't talk about it, and here I am talking about it. But at midnight it's going to go live anyways. But I threw it in, and it's awesome. But it's not coming out till January, so it won't be in this year's stuff. But it's also 61 minutes long.
Yeah.
And your album's about 42, 43 in that range there. And that's, I'm finding I came through that, and you did as well too, that era where once the CD became the medium of choice for music, every fucking band felt like they had to put, Dream Theater. I like Dream Theater. I don't need an hour and a half of Dream Theater. It's just I can't do it, right? And you guys just give a nice, concise 42 minutes. And what I really came away from with this album, Chris, is every song is an earworm, man. It's very, very, dare I say, catchy, but still very heavy, still very dark, still very melancholic. And even there's a bit of hope in a couple of these songs, which we'll get into in a minute. So that's a good thing, man. I mean,
yeah, man. So like, I'm right there with you. I can't stand to, Ben and I especially have very short attention spans when it comes to music. We have 2 songs that we finished and recorded for this album that didn't make it just because we had to keep it down to, however many minutes it ended up being. Like we wanted it to be like 22 minutes aside on the LP. But there's 2 songs on there that would have taken it close to an hour that we really, really liked. Probably use them for something in the future. But we just had to cut them, man, because we weren't going to put out like an hour-long album. It's too much. It's too boring. It'll lose people's attention span. And
there's too much music. That's the other problem. There's so much music out there. And we live in this generation now. And I'm as guilty of it as maybe you are, and maybe certainly younger kids are. Everybody's clicking. And, you can probably see up there if I show you. That's my box sets there. There's about 300 box sets there.
Nice.
And shit tons of CDs that I just got. I was out with Rick. Like I told you, I spent a bunch of money. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that, bud. Really do. And it's like the ADHD thing. I have it bad when it comes to music. I am like, unless something really grips me. So the fact that I sat down last night and tonight and jammed your album pretty much three straight times tells me a lot about the quality of the music there. Even though I've heard some of this before, I haven't heard this yet, if that makes any sense.
No, thanks, Jeff. I mean, like, we try to make earworms. We have to make these songs something that we want to listen to. Otherwise, like, why the fuck would anybody else want to listen to it if it's not something that we want to listen to? I've heard these. I mean, I've put out multiple. I don't even know how many albums and EPs and demos I've put out in my life, but I'm still listening to this one and I enjoy it still. I'm not sick of it, and we've had these songs done for a long time now. So, I mean, we write these things for ourselves ultimately, and with the hopes that they will resonate with like-minded people like yourself. Like, I think that if I can write something that I can listen to 100 times that I wrote and I'm still like not pissed at it, then like, okay, maybe somebody else will like this too,
There's I am the king of box sets. If you watch any of my other stuff when I do collection updates and things, it's like box set. I'm a box set whore is what I am. Brian is from out your way. He's in Brian, I forget where you're at. Illinois, somewhere Rockport. Is it Rockport? I think Lower Illinois. Brian. So he knows all about you, and I think he's been singing your praises as well. So let's jump a little bit. Well, first of all, one other thing. You mentioned Ben has a studio. Is he Pro Tools or is he Logic or?
No, he's what's the free open source one?
Reaper or
Reaper. He's Reaper, yeah.
Okay. Wow, this is a Reaper product?
It's a Reaper, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Damn, man. And what do you guys all work on? Garage, or what are you using primarily?
My
Or the
iPhone.
same thing. Paper?
No, man, I use my iPhone, man. I don't have any sort of studio situation at my house. I've got, I have done some GarageBand stuff, but mostly since he lives so close, man, I'll just, get my ideas and go over there and let him.
Oh, you go jam with him. Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'll
what
let him.
about the other guys? Are they flying tracks in from pretty simple stuff or what?
It's all just like voice memos and shit, man. Like, honestly, like we do that. And then Ben and I will figure out, like, if Brandon sends us like a guitar riff or a piano part or something like that he really wants to work on, he'll just send it over on a text, and we'll figure out how to play it, and then we'll go ahead and lay it down and start demoing it out and figuring out what the song's going to be.
Now, I guess the obvious question then for me is, I'm assuming a lot of this is plug-in then.
Yeah, well, yeah. The drums are straight up. That's the only thing we didn't record at Ben's studio is the drums. We went to Azimuth Studio here in Indy to record those for this last album because he just doesn't have the room he doesn't have a drum room.
Set. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
that's a real. The drums are real.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then all the guitars. Here's what we did. We had my amp and my Mesa Boogie cabinet, or was his Mesa Boogie cabinet. We had it mic'd up, and what we were doing, we were comparing the amp sims or whatever you want to call. I don't know what they're called. Like that,
the impulse responses or whatever.
Yeah. So we were comparing those two, and we couldn't tell a difference between the real amp and what he had. It was they were the exact same.
They're getting pretty complicated.
Man, see, I'm one of those, man.
I'm still trying to figure this fucker out. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can get the archetypes, and there's compatibility. So like, I have the Mesa Mark II.
Yep.
I've got the Gojira, and it's just like insane. You just, unless you're a studio producer or an engineer, most people just don't know. I mean, and people are using Kempers and Axe effects a lot now, or those.
Yeah.
Like Steve Jansen from Crypt Sermon. I don't know if you know Crypt Sermon.
Oh yeah, I know them.
Yeah.
I don't know them personally, but I've seen them live like twice now.
Yeah. Killer band. Steve's a scary guitar player, man. He's a bud, and he used that all for used that for their entire show when they did the Decibel 20th, which is where I got sick with the autopsy thing. You can't, unless you're, I mean, I do get, to some extent, if you're kind of old like me, and you're not real old, but old like me, and you're in front of that amp and you crank that fucking Mesa, it's like, it's a feeling you don't get with that. That's just the reality of it. But the ease of using it, you're not lugging around a 150-pound head and. Oh,
dude, yeah. I mean, I already went from a 6505 and my old 5150 down to the 50-watt 5153 because it was a lot lighter and it had the MIDI capability. But man, like we're doing like fly-in shows now. We've done like Denver, we've done Seattle, in these things, and so I need a compact rig, man. I've been looking at like the Helix Stomp with just like some sort of pedal board power amp situation that I could possibly just throw in a backpack and take because I'm sick of carrying around gear.
They're great, man. They're great. Yeah. I mean, the only drawback to the Neural is that it's $2,000.
That's what I was trying to look for, something cheaper, because like if I can, I'll take my head and my pedal board and everything, but like sometimes it's not, Yeah,
and you never know what you're going to get if you get somewhere in its backline that isn't yours.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. I can tell you right now when for that Decibel thing, the Imo guys brought their 5150s down. You could tell. You could tell compared to the backline, which was Marshall heads, I believe. There might have been a Mesa there. I can't remember exactly, and then there was a lot. The Horrendous guys plugged in through. Forget what the Horrendous guys are using now. They just got new boards. Damien and Matt are using like a floor box thing too.
Yeah,
but it's. Yeah, those 5150 heads.
Yeah.
So I don't have room for it here, and I couldn't use it the way I'd want to use it, and so it's like, I'm going to go with that because those are great. Then, using the quad or the fractal or the Kemper or any of those modelers, plug in and go, man. You can just record
And live too, you can still go through a head and get a tube sound. Like if you have like a backline,
like a preamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many gigs have you guys done to this point?
Man, somebody else was asking me about this like yesterday, and I have not counted them, but I mean, not that many, you know. Like I was thinking it's probably less than 20, to be honest with you. Like I mean, we've all like done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds
Separately,
of
sure.
gigs. Like yeah. So it's not like we're like noobs. So like we're easy to deal with, you know, like we barely ever rehearse, and when we do, like it's just like fine. But yeah, man, like we've played just like once or twice a year here, like kind of locally since we started, and you know, we've hit Chicago. We did a short East Coast run. We've been to Denver. We've been to Seattle. Um, yeah, man. I mean, that's basically it. Honestly, we've just been lucky to get some decent shows in our short lifespan to, you know, kind of put our name out there.
Yeah, and I guess I mean it stands to reason all you guys are working dudes. You have professional
Yeah,
careers or jobs that you just can't just suddenly go, oh, we're going on tour for
yeah. It's
five
just not
weeks.
it wasn't what we wanted to do when we started this band. We were like, yeah, we're not against touring. We're not against like playing shows. Like, so I'm not telling anybody like our label like I'm
Don't call me.
yeah, you know, like, yeah, I mean, we're more quality over quantity. You know, we're not going to be road
Right.
dogs, but you know, but we'll go out there and we'll promote our album. We'll go work. You know, give us some good show offers. You know, we'll fly out there. We'll do some shit. But yeah, man, we're not going to go out there for a month. Man, I got 2 young kids. Everybody in the band's got kids, and we just don't feel like doing that right now. And we're lucky to be in a spot where we don't have to. So
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to come right out and say this is more a hobby than anything else, but it is, and you're serious about it, but it is
yeah,
kind of one of those things where you can't make a living from it. So therefore, why
that was
would
never a goal anyway. So like,
yeah.
it's you know. And yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it's a hobby. It's a passionate hobby. It's you know, we're doing this as a cathartic release for, you know, for all of us. We've been doing this since we were kids, and it's something that we're never going to stop doing, probably.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
a creative outlet, and
yeah.
it
So
scratches that itch and
you
does
know,
something really cool. And it's what's really cool about it is it's resonating with a good percentage of metal fans out there. So
yeah,
um,
very grateful.
Russell says Algo brought me here. Hi from Oregon. Oh, the
Awesome.
algorithm. I guess he means the algorithm. I'm assuming.
Hey, Russell.
No, we didn't mention the DIY DSP stop box. Nope. Sounds pretty crazy. You're talking about the Neural Nano. I've seen it. Yeah. That's a lot more affordable, but you don't get quite what you get with the with this one here.
I was looking at that one, man, but like, there's only like the way I need my pedal board to work, man. I need to be able to like switch to like from 3 different things, and like it seemed like kind of confusing to like you have to like hit it twice for like this side and like twice on that side. I don't know.
Right. Whereas you can program the Neural and just or the Helix too. I'm sure you can get that. I haven't played a Helix, but I know they're pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty versatile.
and you can plug it. You can do external pedals too. Yeah, wait,
right.
November 15th, man. See you there, dude.
Yes. So we should mention that you guys have a album release party. Then is that right?
Yeah. At Black Circle in Indianapolis, November 15th with Immortal Bird, who just released an album on 20 Bucks Spin that's really good. Then Huntsman, who are on Prosthetic Records, they had an album out not long ago that's fantastic, and a local death doom band called Atavistic Decay. So like it's going to be a killer show here in Indy on November 15th. Then November 23rd, we're playing with Immortal Bird again up in Chicago for their official album release show. So
is that Reggie's? Is that Reggie's? Did I see?
Yep.
Cool. Pretty famous club there for
yeah, I love that place, man. It's a great club.
Let's dive into these tracks a little bit real quick. Now I'll get you out of here in about 10-15 minutes. So I think I'm gonna put the album back up for people that haven't seen it or don't know what it looks like there. So that's the artwork again. You want to mention the artist name again one more time?
Yeah, that's Kalen Stokermans. He's like you mentioned, he did the Fires and the Distance album cover, and he's done a lot of rad stuff. He I mean, if you just look him up, you'll recognize immediately a number of the album covers he's done. Lots of bands.
So I'm gonna go down through these tracks a little bit and mention. I will say right off the bat, this was tough, man. Usually on an album, I find, you know, one or two songs that are kind of like the standout tracks. But I'm happy to say in this case, man, like every song really has a really cool, unique voice. And I think the other thing too to mention is that while this isn't Dream Theater Prague, it's not, 18 different sections in 68/40 time and all that kind of crazy shit. You guys really, there's a lot of ebb and flow in these tracks. They're not just, okay, let's do the verse, let's do the pre-chorus, now the chorus, then we do two verses, then we do pre-chorus, chorus, pre-chorus, pre-chorus, out. It's not like that at all. There's a lot of really cool dynamics to these songs that make them stay interesting and fresh, even though most are in the 5 to 6 minute range. I think the longest is like almost close to 7, maybe the last song.
Yeah. That goes to like what I mentioned earlier. We're making it interesting for us to like listen to and play. So like we aren't, we have to do those, the different structures and things like that to keep ourselves interested.
Sure. But you also don't go kind of crazy and go into the 15-minute wank thing either. There's no wank on this album, which is cool. I like wank, but the band has to be the right kind of band to wank. You see what I mean? Yep. So, I mean, Opeth can get away with that shit with a 10, 12-minute song because Mike's a genius, but a lot of bands can't. They overstay their welcome within that context. You guys don't do that, and
Thanks,
it's good. It's really good stuff. The track though that did really jump out and is the alpha dog, I'll call it. Okay, or as I have this parlance. I started with a series I did, which I got to pick back up again on the definitive album deconstructed series. I'd bring a person in, we'd pick a band, then we'd take our definitive album, and I somehow along the line started to call tracks bangers, mega bangers, ultra mega bangers, and super mega bangers. This song is the super mega banger, and that is the title track, man. That song
hell yeah.
Dude, that song is so good.
Thanks, dude. I love that one, man.
Just very My Dying Bride at the beginning. You've got you got the violins, probably not real violins, but it sounds like real violins, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And you got the harmonized guitars. You got this, just so emotive, and it's got that. Are you familiar with the Chris Carter show Millennium? The guy that did the X-Files?
No, not at all.
Lance Hendrickson was the star of that.
No.
The intro to that series, Millennium, I think it was 98, 99, and 2000. Man, this song, it's good you said no, because I'd have been like, man, they ripped that off. Like, it's not a ripoff, but go check that out. When you get done, jump on and look up Theme for Millennium. You'll see exactly what I mean.
Okay, cool, man. I'll do that.
But it's so badass, dude. It's so fucking good, man. It's just a brilliant track, man.
Thank you.
And then you get into the Brave Murder Day Ockerfeld section about 3/4 in. It's there. I'm just saying it's there, but it's cool where you kind of like slow and then you get in that driving rhythm that is on most of Brave Murder Day.
Yep.
Just that da 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 da, and you're playing riffs over it, and you do a little bit of the tapping stuff in there too. That's really cool. And then there's a bit of a serenades bit at the end of that track from Anathema, where Darren would not. I never thought Darren was a very good death metal vocalist, but when he would do that thing in like Sleepless, where he would go, talking bit, it was like, oh, that's cool. And Brandon does that a little bit on there, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm glad he started doing that, the kind of the talking bit on this album. Like I like when he does that. I think, and he layers oftentimes the talking thing with his harsh vocals kind of behind it, doubling times, which I thought came across really well.
Really did. And of course, The Gallows is a really great opening track. Of course, it's very earwormy, man, and it's very Catatonia. It's very Brave Murder Day, but in a great way. Shatter the Visage, man, that's about as blasty as you guys get. The beginning of that, you get pretty. It's not full on black metal, but it's hugging the line a little bit.
Yeah, Shatter the Visage, that first riff in that song, like, so yeah, that's the second track on there. We wanted to come in, and that's the Edge of Sanity kind of influence.
Exactly, that's what I said right then. I said got a little bit of Purgatory Afterglow in there.
Yeah. So, man, like, okay, so speaking of Purgatory Afterglow, the song Twilight is like my favorite song, probably at
Is
least.
it really?
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite songs of just all time.
Sure.
I first heard it like some magazine had like when back in the day, remember the CDs came in like the magazine, it was like some sampler or whatever. That song Twilight was on there, and dude, I just got addicted to that song and Edge of Sanity at that time. So yeah, we kind of just threw a little tribute in there. I mean, we're obviously, you can hear it throughout the album too, that we're influenced by a lot of Dan Swano stuff. So
sure, absolutely. I think a lot of people in the metal scene are. I mean,
yeah, of course,
man.
He's
look at that guy's resume. It's hard to, and he was such a great guy to talk to, man. Such a
dude, he's so
awesome
nice.
Dude.
He's amazing to work with. He's fantastic.
And by the way, we should mention this album was in fact mastered by Dan. He didn't mix it though, right?
No, Ben mixed it. Dan just mastered it. Yeah.
Okay. Any reason why? His schedule or? No.
I mean, we wanted Ben to do it, man. Ben's got an ear, and we trusted him fully with everything for this album. And we like having Dan's extra touch on top of it because he's got an ear for this style, and he seems to like our band decently enough. So we trust.
Did he master the last one? I thought he mixed the last one, or am I dreaming?
He is only mastered. He's
only mastered. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Another tie-in with Swano is that Brandon's vocals remind me, his harsh vocals at times remind me a little bit of a legendary Chicago death metal band. Who might I be talking about?
I don't know. Who are you talking about?
November's Doom, Paul Kerr.
Yeah.
I hear some Paul Kerr in there.
Yeah.
Not in the clean, but more in the raspy growl. He's got that kind of throaty rasp that's really, really powerful. And he's got a very powerful death growl. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Brandon's voice is fantastic, dude. He's loud but you can understand him basically. I mean, he enunciates so well with it and everything. He's not like one of those brutal death metal guys.
Right, where it's just the
yeah.
Stuff. We were talking about stuff I don't really like, and the pig squeal stuff. I'm out. The minute that starts, I'm done. I'm done. I'm like, turn that off or I'm leaving. That kind of thing. That's the old man in me there. Hey, real quick, I'm going to wrap up in a minute here. Wade, no, it was Lance Hendrickson was the star of Millennium, which was the soundtrack I was telling Chris to check out because it really reminded me a lot. Periapt really reminded me of that. Interestingly, and the thing that really reminded me that particular song was it had that. A lot of these songs have a very cinematic feel to them, which you don't really say a lot about old death metal. I mean, you can, I guess, but maybe it's the more modern production and the way you guys are putting it all together and intertwining it. But you get where I'm coming from. It's got it. There is,
we're very purposeful with atmosphere throughout the album too, and I think that kind of adds to that cinematic quality, I guess. We always want something to be happening and kind of tie the songs together. So if there might be things you don't even really notice when you're listening to it, but there's a lot of pad swells and synth things that are not out they're not out front, but they're there kind of just giving a vibe underneath. You might hear that kind of thing.
That's the cool part about it is that you guys, given technology now, can add that stuff in, whereas the Brave Murder Day and those early death metal albums they didn't have that kind of tech, and they probably would have been called posers and burned at the stake had they used that stuff. But things have softened a little bit. We've become a little bit more open to keyboards and stuff in death metal. So we'll wrap up with two other tracks here real quick. A Scarlet Threnody is I really dig that. It's got some weird, and you're going to be like, huh? But I hear some typo, and I think that is because of those swells, those keyboards that kind of are laying under the beds there. And I mean, Typo is one of my favorite all-time bands.
Typo's great, yeah. I mean, I guess I can see that. Now I hadn't thought about that, but as you mentioned it, it makes sense, sure.
Well, the reason I get it is that it's the vibe of the song. It's that oddly melancholy brooding, yet there's also like a dark sort of hopefulness to that track. Weirdly,
Yeah, and
I know that's that's an oxymoron there, but
no, dude, you nailed it, dude. Like that's what we're doing. We Okay, so like I already mentioned, like the band is based on like loss and grief and like sadness and things like that. But when we're writing these songs, we know that like you've got to move on, man. Like you have to reach for something or you're going to go absolutely nowhere. And we try to put that in the songs. Like that's purposeful. We always, maybe not every song, but if a song calls for it, we try to put that glimmer of hope in there at the end. Like you might not be reaching it quite yet, but you can see something on the horizon that kind of makes you keep moving forward. And we talked about this when our friend, I keep going back to this, but it's really important to us. When our friend died, I mean, you can't just stop living, man. You still got to keep living. You got to go forward. You grieve, and the pain never fully goes away, but it lessens.
Right.
And then you can see that hope on the horizon. And life is sometimes really great. So like it's not always morose and terrible. And we try to make that point in our songs here and there as well.
I think maybe a way to look at it is that life is very difficult, though. Too, life is very hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of us we're just one day at a time. We're keeping the waves right below the nostrils, so to speak. Yeah. But when you find those epic moments of joy, whether it's having children and seeing them grow and blossom into young adults and then adults as you get to my age. My kids are 29 and 27, so it's like they're on their own and doing their own thing. But my daughter and I, she lives in Nashville. She's become this really killer musician. She's got a sick voice, just so beautiful. But watching her grow as a songwriter, and now she's calling me, going, "Dad, listen to this. Do you have any cool like acoustic thing that you could throw in this?" And I'm like, "Whoa, like really? Is that
amazing?"
And it's the coolest thing ever. And those things, and going to an Opeth show or going to play a show in Denver, those are the moments you have to cling on to and go, this is what life's about, man. These are the little victories that make life truly a special thing. And I'm not a God guy. I'm an atheist, to be very honest with you. And that's do your thing, believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
But there are moments that have me going, wow, like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to be wrong, but maybe I'm wrong because I'm the eternal pessimist as well at the same point.
Yeah, same.
But these songs really have an uplifting vibe underneath all of it, which is.
I love to hear you say that. Thank you.
Man. I wouldn't have expected it until I really got into it 3 or 4 times and was like, fuck, this is a really. I'm telling you, man, you guys fucked up my top 24 for 24. I already had Opeth slotted in. I don't even have to. I've heard a couple tracks now, but I already know they're going in. But it's like, stop putting out good albums as we get to the end of the year. I got to go buy more shit.
We like to do that. We like to put our albums out in October and hope that it fucks people up. So
there's another great point, and then I'll wrap here. This feels like a fall album, big fucking time, man.
Yeah.
It has that. One of the tracks here, I say, let me find it real quick because I really want to read this because I think you'll. Here we go. At Shatter the Visage, one thing I said here was, there's even a little bit of Opeth in those melodies, and then I said, then we get to the Brave Murder Day section, which is undeniable and super badass. It's so damn catchy, and this is the kind of track you blast at tinnitus-inducing levels with the windows down on a summer night, or maybe even better, on a winter's night.
Awesome. Dude.
I should write reviews, shouldn't I?
You should. You go ahead and review this.
I do this shit. I subject people to my ugly mug instead, but my big mouth. But yeah, man, listen, it's I need some more time with it to sit and go, oh, it's a 9 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10. Who cares? It's a fucking great album. It's a really good album. I would hope to get to see it at some point in time, somewhere along the line. I did want to mention one last one. Apparition is a really catchy track, kind of like Gallows. I do hear the Swallow this. I said Ghost of Loss. I meant shit, Wade, you said it, and I'm blanking out. The first album. Tell me what the first album's called again. I just forgot. And it's very much in that keeping. But what's cool about it is it's got on an almost heavy metal anthem to it. There's some gallop to it. It's not Maiden gallop, but it's a slower Catatonia gallop, maybe.
Yeah.
And that final refrain where it gets when it gets back into the heavy part there, it's almost like, dude, it's almost like a prog metal song. It's got a little bit of Queensryche in there, a little bit of Fates Warning, and these are bands I love, so it's all good. It's all gravy for me.
Yeah.
But you guys should be really proud of this album, man. I think it's a stellar album, dude.
Thanks, Jeff, man. Yeah, we are proud of it. I personally think it's the best thing I've ever put out in my musical career. Like I enjoy it still. I'm glad it's resonating with other people. That's really stressful to put out an album into the world when you feel strongly about it, but you have no fucking clue what other people are going to think about it. And so far, thank you. Like the reception has been really, really nice. So I'm just glad it's resonating with people, man.
That has to feel good. I mean, like you said, you write it for you and the guys in the band. Yeah. But when other people connect and go, man, dude, this is killer. And I'll be honest with you, if I didn't think this was a killer album, this would have been a half-hour interview. I'm just being blunt.
Okay, man. I appreciate that.
Last question on that, and I'll get you out of here. What about your families? When you play this for your wife or your mom or your dad, have you done that? I'm assuming you have.
Yeah, my mom, we were over at her house the other day, my mom and dad's house, and they had me and my family were there just hanging out, and they had my uncle and his partner popped in, and they're older, they're up there, and
old like me. No, I'm just they're quite a bit older.
Yeah, they're quite a bit older. But my mom pulled out her phone and pulled up our video. We did a video for Shatter the Visage, and was showing it to my uncle's girlfriend, and she was like, okay. And then she pulled me aside later and said, I don't want you to be offended, but is your music satanic?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no, it's not. But I get why you would say that, I guess. You don't, no, my parents are awesome. They have been so supportive of me playing music since I was a little kid, man. They're not into metal whatsoever at all, but they're super cool. My wife isn't necessarily into metal, but she likes some metal. She likes punk rock a lot. She whatever. She likes everything. She's super supportive, man, and all of our families are super supportive of us. So we're lucky.
That is cool, man. I mean that's you can't buy that. That's something just to have, especially in because it is a very selfish pursuit. When you're playing and you're focused, and again, you said you don't go out and play a lot of gigs, so it's not that kind of selfish. But when you're in that creative zone, you really are like, hey, I'm working. I got to get this done. Can you get the kids to bed? I really got to get this done. That kind of thing.
Yeah, no, man, I owe a ton to my wife. She does. If I have to take off to go rehearse or whatever, she's taking care of the kids and things like that. And we purposefully don't play a ton of shows just so we can be with our families, man. Family's always first. That's what all of us believe. So
we're gonna roll through the comments and then I will bid you adieu, sir.
Right on, bro.
Definitely a fall album from Wade. Yep. Mm-hmm. He's giving me shit here, I'm sure. Guys don't want to believe in God, or he'd have to part with those coveted atheist CDs. That's true. And Kelly, my bro Kelly and I are tight. It was on the X-Files. Yeah, I remember that, man. Yeah. The Morning Never Came. Thank you. That's the one. Have you heard that album?
I haven't heard that one.
Go listen to that album. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right.
You'll go, okay, he was right.
I'm going to set up a little tab over here.
And it's a fucking awesome album. Oh, my God. I listened to it on the way up to New York to see Opeth on Friday. I was like, why have I not spun this in a while? This is so good. All right. And it's interesting, real quick. I interviewed Yuha, the main guy from Follow the Sun. And their new album comes out next month, I believe. Yeah, the 18th, I think, of November. And it's very different. It's very catchy and poppy, more so than yours.
Yeah, I haven't heard it, but I read a review recently, like saying that it was like a poppier version. So like, yeah, like,
But
I'll
again,
check it out.
earworms. I found myself singing two of those songs out there, going, "Man, I'm not supposed to be singing funeral funeral doom metal songs. Like, what is up with that? Melodic death, it's like that just doesn't make any sense, but it's so good. So last thing here. Okay, I think we got everything. Tim, you came in late. We're about ready to wrap up. We're not doing a long one here. Chris probably has to get up for work. So being an atheist, no useless baggage. Yeah, it's kind of how I feel, man. It's kind of how I feel. So Chris, any final words? I do want to promise you I will have all the links for pre-orders and blah 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 done later tonight. I just ran up against it, and I wanted to focus on listening, getting the artwork done for you. I wanted to make you look super snazzy and cool.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I didn't have your long hair though. I couldn't find a good picture of you.
Oh yeah, you put that old picture from the EP on there or whatever. That's all good, man. That's all good.
I had to use what I could use. I guess I could have said send me a JPEG. I just didn't. I was in a jam. So
that's good.
Well, listen, man. I hope you enjoyed the interview.
Dude, it's been fantastic, dude. You're awesome. Thank you.
Let Liz know that, and I wish I hope big things for you guys, because again, even though you're unlikely to be like a mega touring band that's going to be going around the world all the time, hopefully this turns into some really cool festival options.
Yeah.
Maryland Death Fest maybe, or maybe even get an invite over to Vakken or something like that to do something. That'd be badass, huh?
Yeah, we're open to all that stuff, man. And like you'll see us on the East Coast. We'll do something in 2025 over there. Maybe the West Coast too. So it's not like we're not going to do anything, but we're just not going to be out there for a month at a time. So
that'd be cool. And I don't know about at your age, but at my age, there's no way I'd be getting on even one of those really nice buses. I have sleep issues, so I'd be like, get me a room every night. You guys,
yeah, right.
That is just not a lifestyle I'd want to do at this stage.
It's not.
I don't even know if I want to do it in my 40s, to be honest with you. It's just you got to be certain. You got to be kind of cut out for that to be road dogs. And certain bands, they just immolation, man. Road dogs.
Yeah,
they're unreal. Autopsy, not really road dogs. They do the fly-in stuff. They don't want to be on the road all the time. So.
Yeah.
But all right, brother. Hang on one sec. Stay there just one moment.
Cool.
Everybody that stopped in tonight, we had like 13 people at one point. At this late at night on the East Coast, it's not bad. So
awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Everybody go out and get this album, and I will drop all the information in the body later after Chris and I wrap up. So thanks, everyone. Real quick, the only thing I have to announce, I do have to announce that Brian Ross from Satan, who was supposed to be tomorrow at noon, had to cancel. I'm not sure what's going on there. So he canceled. Tribulation guys coming up when they get back to Sweden. And then on the 4th of November, we're doing the Anathema Deep Dive Part 2 with Steve Jansen from Crypt Sermon and Derek Vella from Tomb Mold and my buddy Jimmy from Future Ruins. And then on the 9th, we're doing Kate Bush. We're doing the catalog. I know, it's not metal. You know my channel. I don't always talk about metal, people. Kate Bush, the entire catalog. I'm doing it with John Holm from Agalock, Hunter Ginn from Agalock, and Eric Berg. So look for those coming. And there are a bunch of cool interviews with some cool bigger names that are slotting in. Not that Chris isn't a big name. He's a big deal. Indianapolis, man. He's like a big deal. So that sounded terrible. I was not minimizing. I was just saying there's some big names coming here. So hopefully you're going to be like a huge name. Front cover of Decibel coming up.
Albert, listen to that, man.
Albert, did you hear this, Albert? All right, man. Hang on, Chris.
Right on.
Night, peoples. All right, dude. I think we're out.